Welcome. My name's Matt from the Loom of Time.
I'm Nich from Evocatus.
And this is the Tomb of Lime podcast. This is up to episode 18. This is second last track by track on Grand Falls Carras. So we're up to, second last. Yeah, we're getting close here. The Lance of Longinus. And we're going to be focusing a little bit on the music video. Styles, techniques, what's good, what's in, what's out, how to do it, how not to do it. Yeah, should be good.
All right.
The music video is essentially a promotional tool, right? To promote a piece of music. So the music is what it's trying to do, to promote, to elevate, to show off, to do whatever. But the video as itself is an art form of its own.
Yes.
Now, in recent years, I think music paired with video has sort of broadened its horizons from like the MTV days, let's say. Now you've got things like lyric videos and visualizers and so on. And it's almost like you just need some kind of video content almost. It doesn't matter what you're putting on the screen almost. Having a video of it.
Just a visual representation of what you're listening to.
Sort of, it puts you before a different audience because there are platforms where people go to watch videos and you can't just put music on there. It has to be tied with something.
Yeah, it would just be a blank screen.
Yeah, but even that is like a video file that you have to upload a blank screen, right?
Yeah.
So, it's taken on its own form here. So, I mean, there's probably a discussion we could have about the art of promoting music through the medium of video. And, we've both of our bands have done things like visualizers and lyric videos. I mean, I haven't done any lyric videos, but visualizers and lyric videos are sort of grouped together there. Putting that stuff aside for now, because that's a sort of pragmatic concern about how to promote it and what mediums to get it on and what websites and so on. There's this other thing that has been around for a lot longer, the music video, in the more traditional sense. So, I mean, when I think about it, I think that you've got a song and it can be a good song, regardless of what visuals are paired with it. And you've got a music video and the visuals can be good, regardless of what music is over it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the interaction of the two. Now, do you think you're inclined to think that a music video is good because the music is good, and that it doesn't? No,
not at all.
There's something about the visuals in particular.
Yeah.
So, all right, is there something that, let's say, immediately appeals to you when you see it represented as far as music videos go?
I enjoy it when the video, like for a song, is longer than the song itself. Like where it goes a bit, it becomes like you said before, an art piece into its own. Yeah, so like the video clip for Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Okay, yep.
Where it's like a little movie of its own.
Trying to pull your own portions there. Yes, yeah.
So I like that. That's appealing. So I guess to better answer your question, I like when there's a dramatic aspect to the video rather than just, and live videos are good too, or videos that are supposed to be live, if that makes sense. Where the guys are on the stage.
Or whatever.
Maybe there's a crowd, maybe there's not, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it would be pointless to have a video like that is longer than the song, right? It doesn't...
like it's got us like doing sound check and dragging all our gear in. And I mean, I can't think of an example where someone's done that, so no one steal my idea.
Quick, get on it, quick.
I'm sure there is. There's an example of that.
There are what you might call performance videos.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's on the stage. Sometimes it's in a studio. Sometimes it's in a white endless void or a black endless void.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And those...
Or an abandoned warehouse.
Yes, okay.
Very popular option.
Yes, yeah. So in those cases, those videos are more to just show off, I guess give you a taste of the live aspect, even though it's not truly a live situation.
Yeah.
That's a pretty basic way of getting your music onto a thing without it being just words on a screen or a picture.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think I'm still inclined when a band I like is releasing an album and they've released a single with a video, rather than click the audio-only thing. If I can click the video, even if I can see from the thumbnail that it's just them in the white void, I still want to. Yeah. I'm still going to click that over just listening to it, I think. So there's still some appeal, some visual appeal there. There's different things that can appeal to you in there. Maybe you're a gear nerd and you want to see the guitar, or see the band's performance, and the way they do it and so on. So there's an appeal there. But you've pointed out, and this is something that I feel as well, is that when a music video takes on a more cinematic or maybe just creative thing where they've gone above just a band performing and introduced some other elements in there, that it becomes much
story.
Much more interesting. It's like another layer of creativity that you can add onto the music. Now, after what I've seen in Discord from a couple of people who have been posting their favorite videos in there, is that when it comes to metal videos, a lot of them, I would say, are almost incomprehensible. There's some total madness that goes on in
just nonsense.
In the musical medium. Now, someone posted a Tool video from I think the Enema days, right?
Stinkfist.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen that one before, but I had seen a couple of other Tool videos, and they were all just as incomprehensible. And it made me realize for a second there that when we think about movies and the standard sort of narrative structure that they go through, it makes sense in a way that we can understand the flow of a story.
Yep.
And maybe that's just because we've had those stories ingrained into our psyche or whatever. But I realized then, but because I guess songs don't follow this structure, that in a narrative sense, songs are pretty incomprehensible as well.
Yep.
And to have a music video that matches it can be just as incomprehensible. And it's not the strict narrative story that we're actually going there for, in those cases. It's more the feeling or something, more the atmosphere or something. Not really sure. Sometimes I do wonder if those are all very deliberately crafted with symbolism all over the place. And so on.
Definitely like that example that you posted, the very first one, that Blood Incantation song. I hadn't seen that video before. But it definitely fit the song, and it doesn't have a story. It's just
it was more of a feeling. Yeah. It creates an atmosphere, and it's just
exactly. Visually stunning. And perfectly in tune with what you're hearing as well. As the song progresses, quite a progressive song from start to finish. Definitely starts from nowhere and finishes quite huge.
Yep.
And the video kind of does the same.
Yeah, it's a linear sort of video as well. It just keeps moving forwards in a sort of more literal sense.
Until the final sort of scene where it's not, not like flying through space anymore.
Yeah, a couple of excursions where it's just in a cabin filling up with blood or something, right? Again, incomprehensible. Don't, but you're not meant to comprehend it.
Don't read into it too much, folks.
Yeah.
It's not real.
So, that thing exists. And I guess it still makes sense because music doesn't necessarily have narrative structures in the same way that other forms of storytelling can. So the music doesn't have to necessarily fit with the video in that way, or it does fit in that way, and it just doesn't need to be comprehensible to us.
Yeah.
All right, but there are comprehensible narratives that they put into videos as well. Do you think those are stronger? Do they leave a stronger impression? Because sometimes I feel like if the narrative of the video is so strong that you can almost forget about the music, it becomes background to the story that you're.
I don't mind. I think that's okay. Especially if the story has the video or the story that you can get from the video. If it has strong characters and characters you can really get behind, maybe even characters you can relate to. Yeah, that's really entertaining thing. And that's what it's all about, right? It's supposed to be entertaining.
Yeah. And connecting with the audience.
That's the whole purpose of what we're doing.
Yeah. And so, make you feel emotions and things like that.
Yep.
But yes, entertainment is definitely a factor. Like I think of Mastodon's video catalog. Some of those are incomprehensible nonsense.
Yeah.
Some of them are more like a band just playing in a place with people around or whatever.
Yep.
And then some of them, or at least one of them I can think of, is very strong narrative. Like I think it's Mastodon, one of Mastodon's videos. It's like a kid who gets beat up by bullies and an old man helps him encourages them to lift weights and stuff, and then
oh wow,
and then he goes
like a Rocky montage.
Yeah, and then he goes to beat up the bullies, and then at the very end of the episode, the old man keels over and has a heart attack or something, and it's just
that's horrible.
Yeah, makes you feel things though.
Yeah,
there's a few different kinds of video clip then that you can do. Now, do you think that there's certain kinds of music that lend themselves to these different formats of video, and is it a case that you should match it up well, or is it a case that any of them you can make work? If
I am quite certain that it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like you can make any kind of video for any kind of music. That there's no specific like formula or rules or anything. Guidelines. Feel free to suggest otherwise, but that's what I think. Like, I'm happy to see a video or a version, like even if a song has got 5 different videos, because the band couldn't settle on one. Yeah. Who can think of an example of that?
I don't know about bands with 5 different videos for the same song, but it is often the case that during the course of one video that there is 5 totally different things going on that they cut between for interest, right? So you might be
like
on
a soapy.
Yeah. Is it? Well, okay. Not like a soapy, I would say, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll be the band is performing and there's a story going on, and sometimes it'll be incomprehensible nonsense in one location and incomprehensible nonsense going on in a totally different location of a totally different kind. One of the videos that was posted up was Bleed, right, by Meshuggah.
Oh, yep.
It wasn't totally incomprehensible nonsense. There was some... there was a visual run through there. There was one character who made it from the end of the video.
Relatable.
Yeah. Super relatable, right? Just becoming some kind of demon gimp or something. I don't know what's going on there. But at the very beginning of the video, I thought it was just going to be nonsense metal imagery because there's a cockroach there. And
ticking clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that kind of video definitely exists. I'm pretty sure I've heard Ockerfeld from Opeth talk about, because they didn't have a lot of videos in their career, but one of the earlier ones that I think that must have been off Ghost Reveries maybe, had a video clip with it.
I feel like they started videos with Ghost Reveries,
and it was like an old house or something, and it had cockroaches and blood in the walls and whatever. Yeah. And I think Ockerfeld said that it was just had nothing to do with the narrative of the song.
The song itself, it was just
metal imagery, right? Yeah. Really metal stuff.
The label says you should do this video.
Yeah.
We'll set it up for you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I suppose there is a bit of a disconnect between the musical artist and the videos that get made often, because they bring in a director or a writer or whatever to do the thing. Obviously, I think they must consult with the band to some degree, but at some point, I guess they're going to take it in their own creative direction too.
But yeah, like you said, label might bring in a director or a writer for a band who otherwise hasn't got an idea, or maybe they do, whatever. Maybe the director has come in with an idea that he's always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And, says, I've found a band for you, Mr. Director Man. It's Opeth and this song, Grand Conjuration.
Yep.
I've got this idea that I want to do. And the band is like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I guess there's also budgetary constraints, right? It's like, you want Cthulhu in your video clip? Well, we can afford 10 cockroaches. Papier-mâché, yes. For example. So, and, I wonder, I don't know which direction the music industry has gone in, from like the days when there was an MTV, a dedicated channel just for music videos but it was on television. It wasn't as accessible to everyone as the internet was.
Yep.
I wonder how important it was back then compared to today for as far as music videos were going. And I also wonder, and I probably should have done my research right before doing a podcast on it, but I don't know when music videos became a thing, right? As distinctly different from just, say, some footage of the musician performing a song. At some point,
there are videos of like the Beatles and stuff, like really young and like old, at the infancy of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Videos of those guys. Kind of, I guess, maybe it came in line with the birth of television, probably.
It probably has something to do with television, yes.
So music's been around for a lot longer than television. Live music even.
Yep.
And I guess as soon as they figured out they could film it, bang, there's, I guess, people playing live on TV in front of a studio audience and beamed out to people's lounge rooms.
Sure.
But when a first video, here we go, short musical films in the 1920s, prominence in the 80s when MTV created their channel. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's almost they gave...
Thank you, Jason.
Yes. They gave a platform for the music video to become a thing. I wonder what they were playing when they first booted up MTV. It's like, hey guys, we've got this channel, got nothing to play you yet because we're just starting.
Yeah.
Oh, we got these musical films from the 1920s, but I mean, maybe they started off with just footage of bands playing things and so on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I don't know, but either way, it has certainly become a big thing now.
It all went downhill from there. And we got silliness like Electric Callboy.
I didn't watch that one yet.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of their stuff before?
Nope.
Oh man.
Worth a shot.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
Okay. So one thing I thought of is like humor as a video clip seems to be like almost a genre of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can do humorous video clips to very not humorous songs. So, I mean, I know that Mastodon have a couple of humorous video clips that have nothing to do with the music.
Yeah, like with the twerking girls.
Yes.
What's that got to do with anything?
Yeah.
What is that song?
Motherload? Yeah, I think it is, yeah. Cool clip, though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Hypnotic.
Yeah. Actually, a great video clip I saw that was not metal at all was Turned Down for What? Have you seen this one?
I don't think I've seen that.
Okay. Just you reminded me when you said twerking girls, but it is just incredibly high budget, and it's about people's bodies who like get possessed by music and start moving autonomously and then smash through the floor of their apartment building into the floor below, and then those people get this sort of same disease, and it keeps crashing down further and further, and and by the time they're in the basement there's just a huge party of people.
Hip-hop carnage.
Yes. So but it was really well produced, like it was like Hollywood level effects, when you see Superman smashing a building or whatever, it's like that level of force, except it's just some lady's boobs flying through a bench or something, right? So and that's stuck in my mind, even though I know what that very small phrase of the music goes, but I couldn't even remember the song.
Anything else about the song? Yeah. That's okay. The important bit.
And I know that Red Fang have quite a reputation for humorous video clips. I think they're a band that's almost been like, you wait for the video clip with those guys because they're going to do something good, right? They've had wild...
Is that one where they're like all in cans or whatever and they're like in armor?
Yeah, like LARPing and having some yeah, and I think I saw one of those was actually animated where they go into a video game or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think humor is regardless of what song you're putting out, humor is a great way to engage with people. Maybe for some bands it wouldn't feel as appropriate. Mm-hmm. Maybe Meshuggah wouldn't have been the same with a more humorous video clip. No.
Yeah, it's probably not the right feel. I tell you, and I don't know if it's a subject you're already going to bring up, but there's bands that have existed, right? Maybe in the underground, they're just poking along, making songs, playing shows, whatever. Yep. No different to us or, Evocatus or Loom. And then they make a video that's just so good and they just blow up.
Yeah.
Like an example from the chat, Necrogoblicon.
Yeah, okay.
The song No One Survives.
Okay.
So there is that's a great making of the story of that video.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
That's a thing you can go and watch, a documentary about how this band went from nobodies, like playing shows to 11 people at a bar, to, multi-million views on YouTube and record deals and festivals and blah, 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 blah. They just went from zero to with one video.
So, I mean, in the case of a situation like that, is it that they had a good corpus of music? Mm-hmm. It's just that they were unrecognized until they got the recognition.
Yep.
And so this music has highlighted their back catalogue, as it were, and they've been able to capitalize on that stuff. So, I mean, that's almost a good way to do it. You would think, rather than having one song with a good video that gets 1 million views and then no other music, and then you've got to release something new.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have the chops to back it up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you can still probably have a video that goes viral if this is the one-hit wonder, right?
And that's the only thing they do, yeah.
If they're playing shows and they've honed their craft and so on, they're ready for the big time to happen.
Yep.
It's just probably there are a lot of bands that are like that.
They never got their big break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when it came, they were ready. now, I mean, that brings me to another thought, is like, how much emphasis or effort do you put into a music video compared to, let's say, the writing of the music? You know, I guess it's part of promoting an album, and it's part of your promotion budget, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I have seen some advice saying that your promotion budget should be, I don't know, twice the production budget or something like that. I don't know.
That's wild.
You know, and that is the way to find success. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case for music videos.
Yeah.
Especially because those can get really expensive, especially, you know, with all the, I mean, obviously it takes a lot of gear to make a record as well, but
crazy amount of gear.
It probably doesn't take as many people to make a record as it could to make a video clip.
Sure.
Because even if you just want to film an empty room, you're got to have a camera guy and a director and a sound guy and lighting and you know, and then they got to edit and all that stuff and color grade and all that stuff. So I think you know, yes, there has the potential to really balloon out in cost, but you know, you might say for something like this example you brought up, Necrogoblicon, that it might have been worth it, and it might have been they put their effort in the right place, as it were. I mean, if they had taken that budget that they had for that video and then just hoarded it for production and had, I don't know, better preamps or something, or went to a bigger, fancier studio and had more cocaine, I don't know, whatever the production budget is, it probably wouldn't have been worth it. It seems like
they would have been still the same unknown band that has great production, like so many bands out there.
Yeah, but even putting a bunch of money into a video clip is no guarantee that you're gonna.
Not a guarantee at all. Like you can put loads of time, effort, even great ideas, and all the money into a video that no one cares about. Like it's got to have that one spark, I guess.
And probably some luck as well.
Yeah, so that's what the Necrogoblicon video talks about, is like luck. And they had this great idea and a couple of contacts with, you know, people that knew what they were doing. And they were like, yeah, you know, this will be a bit of fun. And they did it. And it just like, oh, wow, like overnight.
Yeah.
It went crazy. So, yeah, you could never know that up front if it was your first one. You know, now that they've done it, you could say, well, you know, what's next? How do we top that? Is that just our one-hit wonder and then it's all downhill from here? At least you've got that under your belt to know, to try, to build on. Yeah. You might never make it.
I mean, one thing is as well, if you have a viral video that captures 1 million views or whatever, and then you after that you continue with a steady stream of quality that you had even before that, you'll have a bunch of new fans that will sort of stick with you, and you know, you'll maintain a level of exposure or
it's not necessarily dropping off, because if you're always good but never noticed, and you got this one thing that got you noticed, and then you just stay at that same level of excellent, but now more people know about you. So yeah, I mean, it could be on a steady rise after that, I suppose, in terms of, you know, popularity, relevance, whatever.
Yeah, and it does seem to be that there might be some kind of exponential or foot in the door process where if you can get that break, it actually might even be easier to continue on in that fashion.
That's excellent video as well for We Need a Gimmick. That's another song that they have afterwards, because, you know, they have this gimmick now about the goblin. John Goblicon. That's his name. Of course. There.
Wait, was he around? Was he part of the image before the video, or was that?
I think only maybe, or very subtly, like it was a fairly new idea, and then he became the star of the video, like their mascot.
Yeah. Okay.
And now he's just their mascot. Like he goes on stage with them and whatever.
Yep.
He's not in the band. He's just a guy in a goblin mask.
Yeah. In the case of this video, was it a humor video? Was it a narrative video? Was it the band playing?
Both. No actual footage of the band playing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just a cinematic piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
But humorous.
Follows the life and times of John Goblicon.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I've heard of this band, but
he's just a regular guy, a regular goblin trying to make it in the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
All right, I will check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, no, I can definitely see why humor would become a viral thing. I almost don't feel like sort of the more abstract Tool or Meshuggah incomprehensible nonsense videos would go viral in that sense, right? I mean, a song might still be very popular. Those are very popular bands and have their big following, but it's not like they were unknowns and then they had a viral video with a bunch of weird stuff in it, right?
No, I think, they got big just, in their music because they were pioneers.
Yeah. Outside of humor then, because I feel like I fully understand why those things can go viral.
Yeah.
What about the if we're going to exclude humor for a while, just so we can talk about the more...
Let's be serious for a second.
The artistry of the music video as far as, more highbrow and serious art,
very serious.
Yes. So it might be that, humor is always going to stand out more than those things, maybe. But is there something in an artistic sense? Let's say we approach the music video in the same way that you'd approach your music. It's not all jokes and, fart noises and whatever, in your music. So we can't just...
In the studio it is, but not in the final product.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So you can't just throw a pie and have it match up with that sound in your music or,
you can now. But that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so on a more serious creative level, if you're going to approach a music video with the same care and whatever it is that you do approach your music with, what do you think is... what do you think is the main concerns with, or what appeals to people? What's important? Is it important? I wonder how much it is important that the music and the video go together, if you know what I mean. Because we've said that sometimes the director just comes in and does what they want.
Yeah.
Is that never as good?
I guess it loosely needs to fit, to a degree. If you've got some stuff that's visually striking, at least it's going to be memorable, right? Mm. People are going to see it and go, oh, wow, and then talk to their friends about it, like, check this video out.
Weird stuff can just be strong, striking imagery that gets stuck in your head.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be, there for a reason.
Yeah. No, that's right. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't even need to be, like, totally relevant either to, what's going on in the music. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is just subjective, but it's good when whatever you're watching sort of moves or changes with the same tempo or rhythm as the music does.
Yep.
I think that makes sense as long as, shots are changing in time with the rhythm.
Yep.
On the beat,
So good editing.
Good editing, yep. Because if it's bad editing, it just looks untidy.
I mean, there may be exceptions to that because I feel like maybe, was it Metallica's The Day That Never Comes? Like, I think it was... is that the name of the song? It was on Death Magnetic, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was a video clip of no band playing. It was like a narrative about dudes in war in Afghanistan.
Yeah, they're all in their Hummers and stuff, and one of the guys gets shot. And they have to, like, get down.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I might be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I think that was a lot of, like, slow motion shots and, slow motion yelling and slow motion crying and whatever else.
That's a really harrowing video.
Yeah, and I don't feel like it was... fast chop and cut things when the heavy bits came in or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was much more cinematic. It was much more like a trailer for a movie or even a scene from a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
But I guess it can still work. But that was a kind of I guess it was a dramatic-ish song.
I wonder if that is from a movie or they just commissioned that whole thing themselves.
I don't think it was from something else. I think
it's Metallica. They probably just commissioned
They can probably
that.
afford to.
Yeah. In Afghanistan during the war.
No, we'll make a feature film about it, but we'll just cut it down to 6 minutes.
They really shot that guy for the video. Oh man.
He's like, I'm dying. Here's the Metallica money. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great video. That's an exception to that rule.
Yeah, so I'm sure it can be done. Sometimes, there's another disconnect here. Sometimes the lyrics can have a strong narrative. And if you can feed into that with your music video, then perhaps you've got something even stronger. But lyrics don't have to follow a strong narrative. And even if they are following a narrative, it can sometimes be so cryptic that you can't really understand what they're talking about anyway.
Yeah, and then you can either help or hinder the narrative or lack of narrative with the lyrics by adding imagery to that. The lyrics are what you can see on the screen, not literally written on the page, but someone is acting out what the song is about. And sometimes that can be wrong or done, separate from that intentionally.
It's like if you've read a book and then you go and see a movie and the pieces that they've had to put onto the screen that you imagined a different way.
Yeah, that's not how it goes.
Yeah, and I suppose in a song, it might have emotionally connected you with you in some way, and then they've put an interpretation in there that's you feel is incorrect for your experience of that song. Or whatever. And it may also be incorrect for the experience of the guy who wrote the lyrics too. So, because it can be the interpretation of whoever's making the film. So
that's a great thing about the age of YouTube and other social media platforms with videos nowadays. Is there's people that like talented people just out there in the world that make videos for their favorite songs that aren't the official video for the song. What's it called? Like a fan something.
Yeah.
Just fan-made videos, and they come up a lot, and they often hit the mark really well.
Yeah, okay.
To the point where that band should give them a call and say like, yeah, you make our next video as well.
Well, is that or cease and desist, right?
yeah. It probably doesn't happen with Metallica.
Yeah. But is there songs where the video is deeply connected with the lyrics that you can think of that has struck you? It's like, again, I think lyrics are often, probably more often, not necessary to be comprehended. And in extreme death metal, not necessary to be comprehended even as the English language.
Whatsoever, yeah.
I guess, that is a trickier question to come around to.
Here's a really cheap answer, right? Lyric videos. Definite visual representation of what's going on in the song.
Well, yes.
It's literally written on the page.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But more to the point, and I was going to talk about that theme of the video that goes with the lyrics for some Evocatus videos.
Yep.
But we'll talk for a second about a lyric video that we did for our song Tartarus.
Yep.
Which was one of the singles we released prior to the whole album coming out. So the title track, we took the album artwork that is the front cover of the record, and approached the guy to animate that cover artwork for the lyric video, because the cover art is loosely based around Tartarus as the myth is told.
Yeah.
As well as our the guy, our mascot, who features on the front of that record, the little Centurion / Evocatus guy.
Yep.
Dude face man, as he's known to us as.
Okay.
So he is there facing Hades at Tartarus. Because the song was about Tartarus as a place or a myth, that we used that artwork and those lyrics for that song worked quite well for that. Yep. And so we thought that was going to be appropriate for the lyric video.
Yeah. I mean,
and we got that inspiration from another lyric video we'd seen, band called Wilderon.
Oh, yeah.
Saw a lyric video by those guys, which was basically the cover art animated as a lyric video. And I thought, oh, man, that's so well done. Let's find out who did that video and just hit them up.
Yeah, I can't believe I couldn't come up with Wilderon in our episode about epic music.
Oh, man,
definitely
so
should
epic.
have. Definitely should have.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah. So, okay. So you got a pretty cohesive theme going from lyric to art. So I guess you wrote the lyrics, or, you. The band wrote these lyrics. Yeah,
thank
you. Had these lyrics, and then you're like, all right, because we've got these lyrics, we're going to have the album art like this.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, because we've got the album art like this, let's have the lyric video like this.
Yeah.
That's a nice.
It worked amazing. Yep. But then on the other hand, when you talk about cinematic stuff and the video, loosely having a storyline based around what the song's about, the other video we did, Centurion, not quite totally in tune with the theme of the song. I guess the theme of the song was more about the Roman Empire just sort of stamping all over the world and taking what they want.
But it wasn't totally divorced from that.
It's not totally divorced from that, but it was more, or very specifically, around the aftermath of the siege of Alesia, where we had some Gauls that had fled into the forest after their city had been besieged by the Romans and taken over or whatever. And it's some days or weeks later where there's just Roman patrols in the mountains, just scouting around looking for rebels.
Yep.
Essentially. And they found them. And that's essentially what the video is.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun.
It was very cool. Yeah. I noticed that, your video, although quite generally serious and narrative. It has a few moments of humor.
It's got some Easter eggs in there.
Yeah. So
pretty good.
Yeah. So having a little bit of humor in there can even go alongside a more dramatic video as well.
Kind of like a James Bond movie where there's little funny bits. It's like, oh, you can't say that. But it's overall mostly serious thing.
Yes. Yep. Which is a good way to do things.
Yeah. Very professional.
So there's a lot of different ways to do music videos, and it doesn't seem to be there's a hard and fast set of rules for how they should relate to the music, because they can relate in varying degrees, from not at all to a very intimate portrayal of what the lyrics and music are or whatever. We will come back to talking about music videos.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about the music video of the Lance of Longinus.
Yes.
But I feel like we want to talk about the music of the Lance of Longinus before we talk about the video, so that we've got something to relate it to.
All right.
If you know what I mean.
Yes.
All right. So this song was released first with the video. So I guess it's the case that a lot of people, the first time they experienced it would have been with video. So, there's some considerations there, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
The story with, the flow of the album up to this point, my philosophy of trying to put one unique thing into every song.
Yep, pretty eclectic overall.
And yes, I had gotten to this point in the album, and I'm sure I mentioned this before, but I had thought that I hadn't done a typical Loom song over the last 7 songs, and that I thought, okay, well, I have to do one, otherwise we've got nothing to connect it to Nihil Reich as it were.
Sure, even though there was a song from the Nile Reich days,
yes,
that was nothing like Nile Reich.
No, that's right. Well, it isn't anymore.
Yeah,
that's right. We manipulated that. We false caressed it into. Into its place.
But anyway, you made a brand new one.
Yes. Yes. Funny how that works out, but oh well, yes. And so I think if you listen to this song, it has a lot less, let's say, ornaments on top of it. There's a lot less in the way of strings or saxes or even more complex guitar arrangements. I think it's a more riff-heavy song, but I do think compared to the Nihil Reich days, it probably still does flow a little better than the things that I wrote back then. I still have that part of the writing process in line with Grand False Caress.
Tuned up a bit. Yep.
But I think I did want to focus on a more riff-centric sound for this song. So that we had that kind of thing in our repertoire and set for this album, so that it feels like we haven't lost our way completely, even if it is 1/9 of the album. It's like, okay, that still counts, all right. We haven't lost our way.
Ties it back. Yeah, a fine tether.
Yeah. So I think what you'll find is it's more of a salad than the other songs. Until what I realize only when when you're looking at, say, the video, is that the outro for the song is like half the song. I didn't really realize, because I'm just like, it's just an outro, right? But it goes for minutes, and it's like the first half of the song is like a powerhouse of constant change and riff after riff and never sitting still. And then the second half
is the outro, which is mostly the same as itself.
Yes, yes. But that is something that I'm not comfortable with normally doing. I have to deliberately do it, so it's all right to do it once. And I don't know if I really thought that this would be the last song on the album. I can't remember at which point I had the actual last song on the album in mind. Right. But I know that Scott, when he heard this song, because it was the last song that he was on, and he didn't realize that I had that other song there. Okay. He's like, yeah, this is a great end to the album. And I was like, oh, no, not the end of the album.
I've got a surprise for you.
Yeah. Exactly. I think it's just it's quite a high energy song, at least in the first half. Man, the outro, the second half just feels like an almost totally different in theme, but it's got the role of being a long epic thing, right?
Oh man, it's still unmistakably Loom of Time though. You haven't lost your way even in the outro.
No.
Even though it does deviate quite a bit.
Yeah. And I think even the Ashes of Your Fall has quite a bit of repetition right at the end there, and I was almost maybe thinking about way back to the beginning. I was going to do something like that. But obviously this is, I think, even to a greater degree than we had back then. In the minutiae of that stuff that isn't the outro, which again is like basically half the song, which is just, it boggles my mind when I saw it, in a visual representation. It's like, that's where the outro starts. I'm like, okay, because it's like I put 80% of the effort in the first 50% and then 20% of the effort in the last 50%. It just feels weird. But, that's the way it happens sometimes.
Stretch it out.
I'm sure.
Milk it for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was Hard Times. Is that the parody magazine that was like, doom metal band writes 10-minute song in 3 minutes? So that was kind of what it was like for the outro. But in the first half, let's talk about the first half, because that seems like it's where most of the content of the song is, at least as far as my effort was concerned. There's whenever it flows and we're going transitions into extra sections, there's some points, I think, at which I could have stopped the song and brought it down and changed the mood and created some dynamics. But for this one, because it was meant to be that riff salad, that high energy one, whatever, whenever it had the opportunity to come down and stop and do something else, we were like, no, zip it back in. And I think that's exemplified by right off the guitar solo. There's a little run and then there's this whammy bar, and then it just comes back into more riffs, fast riffs. It sounds like it could be coming into anything to do something else. And I think on any other Loom song where it almost does something like that, it might come in with a big heavy doom riff and slow down or whatever. But here we're just like, no. By reducing the variety, we're actually increasing variety across the album, because it's not, you've created expectations in those other songs, and now you can play with the expectations that you've created to
break them down.
That moment in particular is quite a fun one, where it feels like it could do anything, but it goes straight back into it, and you feel like you've had a break, but it's just been one, and that's it. That's your break. That's it. And then it's relentless riffs, more and more. For the most part, it's just it's guitars. There's leads to create some interest in the guitars, and there is quite a lot of vocal arrangements to make things more interesting. And I think I mentioned last week that I was getting more comfortable with mucking with vocal arrangements, and I think by this song I was pretty comfortable with it, and so there's a few good moments there. And I think even in the studio we were arranging them slightly differently than I had rehearsed. I think I rearranged that whole drink deep section. And we had to step into the studio and get that correct. I should also mention that there's a guitar solo in this one that I don't play. This is by a guy named Garrett Peters, and he's like a YouTube guy. And basically, when I worked out that James wasn't going to be able to do the solos, I flooded the internet with requests to all sorts of places, bands that I just, How
did you do that?
Well, if I saw a band and I saw that the guitarist was like a guy who had his own studio or whatever, I was like, hey bro, how do you feel about playing a solo on my album? And some people replied too late, some people just didn't reply, whatever. But Garrett Peters in particular, had an account on Fiverr, this place where you go for freelance work. And so he was just like, hey, some of his services were like, I will transcribe a guitar solo from someone else's song so that you can learn it, or I'll play on your album, whatever. It worked out. I went to him, and he was keen to do it, and you pay the guy, and it's he's like a session musician, I guess, at that point. He's a really very talented guitarist, and I think most of what he does is covers and things like that on YouTube. But I did see some videos where he went to Finland and hung out with the Winter Sun guys, and I don't know what he was doing there or why, but he was
hanging out in the sauna. Not making time too.
Thanks for all your Patreon money or whatever.
Crowdfunding money. I'll build $100,000 sauna. It's nice.
Yep. My computer can only handle 300 tracks of orchestrations. But,
it's crashing. I need a new one. Poor Yari.
You basically send him the stuff you want. He sends you back his guitar solo. It was great. I think he actually sent it to me in stages. He played like 2 bars, and it's like, is it good so far? And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's just, go for it. Go do whatever you want.
Because if this is good, price just went up.
Demand just skyrocketed. No, I think maybe I don't know. Maybe the work he gets from other people is just you play this thing I tell you play. But I was just like, I want you to play whatever you would play over this, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that was a bit more freeing choice paralysis.
Yeah.
For him,
So what kind of guidance did you give him? Did you just give him that part of the song with sort of like just go nuts, man?
Yeah. I mean, I said it's a high energy song. So and it. The other thing is with this. This is probably the closest thing to a chorus on the album because we play it twice, right? There's that little riff, and then it comes in the heavy version for the guitar solo. And I did that maybe a couple of times on Nihilreich, where you play the chorus and then you play it again, but with a guitar solo over the top. So the purpose of the guitar solo had to be to carry on the momentum and energy of what had come before it. So I gave him the direction that I wanted it to be energetic, right? High energy. And yeah, he delivered on that. It was shreddy, and he did harmonies, and he did, of course, a massive whammy dive at the end, right? Very heavy metal, right? I think when Mitta first heard that, he's like, man, heavy metal guys, right? You can just do whatever you want. Like
it doesn't
you
matter.
Just make noises, and it just works out.
But it's not wrong.
No,
like jazz.
Yep. So we've also got a bit of Jimmy in the beginning. So there's this very doomy. Actually, quite a lot of the stuff in the very beginning of the song is in odd meter. It goes, there's some 7/4 alternating with 4/4 or something, and then there's a 5/4. And I think I originally wanted to put a guitar solo there, but it was totally dissonant and
it's absolutely filthy the way it turned out.
Yeah. So I don't think there was any lead that we could work out actually fit there. So it's subtle, but Jimmy's organs are there, and they're just messy chords and slides and noise, and then but it all just resolves up into that nice harmonious B minor at the end when the riff comes in, right? So yes, we've got a few keyboards, we've got a guitar solo. Apart from that, I don't think there's anything else. In fact,
nothing special.
Yeah, after the keyboards are done, I think it's all just guitars, bass, drums, vocals, the normal band stuff.
Lots of vocals.
Lots of vocals, as it happens. The second half of the song, which is the outro, I think I probably just had that last phrase, that it's our best, it's our death. And I just thought, I know I can use repetition here to build something, right? And I think it starts off alternating slowly, and then it alternates more rapid alternation, and then some extra lead guitar parts come in. And I think I've had multiple people come up to me and say, this was the favorite part of the album, like that feeling at the very end.
That's pretty
when it's built up and reaches.
Pretty desperate sounding. That whole outro.
I don't consider myself particularly good at emotions in music or lyrics or whatever, and I don't think the lyrics are like emotional or whatever. But I think that sort of relentless nature of it, the repetition and the. I guess.
And the lyrical content.
Yeah, and the lyrical content. And I think it's more almost. This is probably a place where heavy metal as a genre, extreme metal, where we can do these sort of screams and choir big things, and those guitars and heavy drums and so on. This is something our genre does really well, I think, actually. And that feeling that you get in that sort of desperation and endless. Whatever, I don't know how to describe it, but it works pretty well. Although, the fact that it is so long and that it's not even interesting guitar work, right? It's just, it's really, really simple. But that sort of pounding rhythm, I think, just gives it a certain power. If you did this in every song, you'd have a real problem. You'd have a pretty boring album, I think.
Sure.
But to do it once at the end, I feel like is okay.
Yeah, it's crushing.
At the same time, I think that maybe this makes it somewhat inappropriate as a lead single, because although my great search for a song that's representative of the album ended up with this one being the one, it's still a case that having half the song as the outro is atypical for the Loom of Time sound. So we've gone astray in that regard. And also, I think the song that introduces you to the album is basically the end of the album, and it feels like it's a big ending, as it were. But it's the first song that many people heard of it. It was against my intuitions, but it was the least against my intuitions compared to the other songs. Right?
Yeah. I think you nailed it there by picking that song, because it is, the Loom of Time overture. And until you explained that, I hadn't even realized that the last half of the song is the outro.
Yeah.
Until you pointed it out, right? It has not lost its way. Or I don't think anyone's sitting there thinking, you know what? That was a bad choice for the single. What is going on with the end of that song? Yeah. It's the end of the record. Like, well, how can they do this?
Yep.
Nah, man, no way. Like, I'm sure you're the only one that has had that thought go through your mind.
maybe. Yeah. Now, because weigh it up, all right? We're almost at the end here. We can say with 100% certainty that the final song on the album was not appropriate for a lead single to introduce people to the album.
Oh, you would have got yourself a whole different fan base.
But, all the other songs that we've done so far, I think I could come up with reasons why I wouldn't want to pick it. My first intuition with albums is generally that if the first song on the album is a good kickoff and introduction to the album, then it's probably a good introduction for people to your sound. But the first song on this album is long and dark and weird, and
got that long crusty bit in it.
Yeah, it's got a big crusty bit. Maybe there's a radio friendly edit of the Depths of Hell itself that it's not so crusty or something. But no, I can't see it.
The halfway to the depth of hell.
Yeah,
the lobby or something.
Going down. Yeah. And now that I think about it, It's Our Death, it's Our Best, It's Our Death is it's repetitive and almost catchy in the same way that a chorus is.
Man, it's an anthem of an outro.
Yeah, and a chorus is something that maybe people latch onto in songs when they hear them for the first time. And if you've got a strong chorus, blah blah blah. So I do think it was the right choice.
Yeah,
I just think if I was going to craft a perfect song to be a single whatever for the Loom of Time, I wouldn't have probably picked those elements for it. It's like none of the songs perfectly fit the mold of song that would work well as a single.
The Ashes of You Fall.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad one.
That's the benchmark, right?
Yeah. And even that's a little long, I would say, to be one. But yes, yes. And in a way, that's okay for me, because what it basically means is this album's pretty interesting. It means it must be varied, right? And not have typical stuff on it, because if I could easily go, that's the lead single, that's the, With Arms Wide Open or whatever.
You can't have the cookie cutter formula.
Yeah. Then
it's not what you're going for. No. Then you've lost your way.
I'll talk very briefly about the lyrics, and then we'll talk about the music video, because that might inform it slightly as well. So this song is about the idea that humans have become or some of us are so smart and adept at like rhetoric and argumentation that we can basically tear apart any point of view that we want, even the correct ones.
Yep.
And that people with this power might actually, even for the sake of their own gratification, use that power to make the world a worse place by attacking people who are actually trying to make things better. And
argue for the sake of arguing.
Yes.
Yep.
And because they can, and because they're so smart.
They're good at it.
They can do it successfully, and they can turn people away from things that would make the world a better place. And that I guess the idea across the end of the song is that this ends up being self-defeating, because you make the world worse and you happen to live in the world, right?
Yeah.
I took a little bit of inspiration in the lyrics. Oh, it might be from a few places. I've forgotten where they. I'll concentrate on the one I remember. Yeah. There's a film called Sunshine, which I like. Directed by Danny Boyle. It's a science fiction film, and it's about a crew that is going to with a big bomb to restart the sun, which is slowly dying. that sounds sillier than it is.
Clear.
Right? But it's a serious, dramatic science fiction film, and it's very good.
Okay.
You've not seen it, then? I
know. No.
Okay, I can recommend Sunshine.
Excellent.
Well, except that I'm probably going to spoil it a little bit for you now. Too bad. There is an antagonist in it who is set on sabotaging their mission to save the Earth. And part of his motivation, I think he says it in a line, is that he wants to be alone in the universe, basically. He wants to see all the humans die while he's up near the sun warm and be the last person in the universe so that he can be alone with God. The guy who wrote the script, even Danny Boyle, was like, this guy's obviously written a great script, but he's got these very strong atheistic ideas that he wants to put in here, and that's fine, whatever, but it always struck me as a little. So obviously the antagonist is meant to be an irrational madman, right? And to inject that with religious belief is no problem for the writer there. But when I say, when he says these things, when he wants to be alone with God, I go, well, that's inconsistent, because if all the people die and they go to heaven, they're all with God. It doesn't make sense. Now, it wasn't required to make sense because he was meant to be an irrational madman, and the religion's not meant to be rational, and it's not meant to. But to me, it was like he could have been a more consistent character and had these motivations if he was like a nihilistic, or a sadistic, sadist, type character. And he would have been able to say the things and have the motivations that he had, but they would have been internally consistent. And I wanted to, even though that the idea of the music, the movie is fine, and that stands alone, whatever. I wanted to sort of twist it on its head here and turn it back to the topics that I'm more generally talking about, which is, nihilism and existentialism and so on, and say that a person who has no concern for other human beings or the future or whatever can certainly be consistent in the idea that they can happily sabotage the world and the way things are going, and they can use their keen intellect and keen rhetorical powers to sabotage the world, but in the end, so I take that line. I say, in the end, you'll be alone with God, and of course, in a lot of, especially Nietzschean thinking, the idea is that we kill God and that we replace God. We become gods.
Yes,
right? And so the idea was that so there's a person that can do this. They can do it. They can sabotage the world, and they can be the God in the universe. And they'll be like, now what? Like you've just. Now that you're alone with God, he looks like you. That's because, you're looking in a mirror. You're the last person. Yep. You're the last person in existence. Well done. Well done, you idiot.
Yeah, give yourself a pat on the back because no one else can.
That's basically the song. That was basically what the song was about. Now, Lone Dog 92 said it is the title of a biblical or of an Evangelion reference. Well, or both. Yeah, I guess it's both. So the Lance of Longinus is... So the Longinus was the Roman centurion, whoever he was, that stabbed Jesus in the side on the cross to check he was dead, and so this lance that stabs Jesus was it kind of over the years got mingled with superstition and mythology to become like a mythological artifact, and so it's turned up in other sort of pop culture and other fictional and fantasy things as kind of a reputation for the weapon that can kill a god.
Right.
Like, so it would be like, if you could find the lance, then you would have this epic weapon that could slay deities and so on. In the song's lyrics, the reference is that the Lance of Longinus is in our own side, and so it's representing, we've become gods and we've got the power, and these super intelligent guys who can argue anything are like, let's stab ourselves, Yes, it's madness, right? It seems like madness. Anyway, I was critiquing that idea. I guess hopefully encouraging, when you've got the power to do these things, you might reconsider how you might use that power. You might consider not just gratifying yourself with, even though it feels good, there might be better uses for your intellect and intelligence and your rhetorical prowess and so on.
You're like the opposite of what you're going for.
Yeah.
Just try to make everything better.
Yeah. So that brings us to the video itself.
Right.
Now the video is... a narrative video. It's an animated narrative video. It's got no band performance in it or whatever. It's just full narrative. So I will say this video was made by a guy who goes by the name Interceptor Beyond. That's his company or whatever. Basically, when I decided that I wanted to get a video done, I just watched 1,000 videos looking for people.
Stuff that you liked and then who made it.
Yeah. And that's what took me to that blood incantation video. And I think I went and had a look at that company that did that one to see how much it would cost. And I might be misremembering, but I think it was something like 2,000 euros a minute, something like that.
Oof.
I think when it comes to music videos, they aren't cheap. But yeah, they do a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of different people out there, and I watched a lot of different videos. But I found this guy, Interceptor Beyond, and I did like his style. And one of the other things I liked about it was that I don't think he had done any metal videos yet. And I like when I collaborate with someone to push them outside of their comfort zone. And I thought he would be a good fit for it.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm wrong, when we were recording, the early podcast episodes, you came over one night while I had that conversation with him? Did you
Yes.
not? You were here, yeah.
I remember he was live on your chat. You were having some kind of video direction meeting.
Yeah. So I think we were due to record a podcast that night,
Yeah.
and that was the time I could get a call with him. So you came over and you hung out, and we
Because he was where? Where is he?
Austria.
Oh, that's right, Austria. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went over what I wanted, and I think narratively what I wanted in there, and I think we gave him the song and had to listen to it. And so the way it came about was I had formed an idea in my mind about what I wanted the video to be. I just let those ideas stew for a while until they came to, I think, enough content to fit a couple of minutes that the song went for.
Yeah.
And then that's what I presented to him. And he very closely followed what I said. So the video represents pretty much everything that I put in there, although I had ideas about how to direct it as well. Like I had ideas that what I would have done if I had done it, and I think I offered those to him, but I think he basically abandoned them. And one of the things was I was thinking a more sort of slower cinematic things, more slow-mo and slow movements and so on, like more like pictures that had sort of come to life, if you know what I mean, rather.
Yeah.
But he said no. He said the same sort of thing that you said about the editing that moves with the music.
Sure.
And so you'll notice that is definitely like that in that video. And yeah, that's fine. No complaints.
Plus, the frantic nature of the music itself lends itself well to the frantic nature of the shots.
Yes. Yeah.
The scenes in the video. Yeah.
But yes, there was only one real story beat in there that he added that had nothing to do with me, and that was his sort of directorial signature style addition, right? So perhaps we'll get up to it. The epitome of gatekeeping. Wait, what were we talking about? I don't know what we're talking about now. Anyway, I will put the music video on in the middle of the screen there, I think. And I'll go along and I'll see if I can remember all the things that I was talking about when I got it. And now, as long as I can pause it too. That intro is basically sort of it's not an overture, but it's got little clips from what is coming in the video, and so it's all in black and white. That was just his idea. I think it was almost like a test. I think he did that part of the video first to get some assets together and the ideas of what he wanted in there. But by talking about what is coming up in the rest of the video, we'll cover everything that was in the intro there.
Sure. Yeah.
But yes, they're just tiny little snippets of what is coming, little teaser. And it worked pretty well as a teaser that I released before the video came out, because it just gives you, it's just a flashing of all this imagery that makes no sense, but teases what's coming. Carrying on. All right, so we've got a floating city in the sky. So one of the things I
That's
told
Aberdeen.
Aberdeen's a pretty down-to-earth place, I think. The one thing I really love as far as visual interest goes is brutalist architecture. Brutalism is like massive, angular, bare concrete, right? There was a film by... I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but it's Denis Villeneuve, you know, the guy that directed Blade Runner and Dune and those guys. There's a film by him called Enemy, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. And it was set in, I don't know where it was set, but there was basically every location that he decided to take, shoot in was set against the backdrop of brutalist architecture. Yeah. And it gives a very kind of, I don't know what it's kind of oppressive the way it is.
Bleak.
Bleak. You know, at the same time, there's brutalist architecture can be very endearing, I think, and combine, paired with like plants and stuff that anyway it's not really important, but I just love those visuals. I love that angular thing. And I think it's partly because of I think Blade Runner had a bit of it going on. And there was a video game called Flashback, the quest for identity, and it was one of my favorite video games growing up, and it's the vision of basically it's very heavily influenced by Blade Runner. So it had a lot of brutalist stuff in there, but I was allowed to play that before I was old enough to be able to see Blade Runner. So this was my Blade Runner, right? This came first, right?
Pre-runner.
Actually, there's a small riff in the song. Once that 5/4 fuzzy grindy riff disappears, there's this that little tiny snippet.
Stolen.
I stole it from Super Metroid, which is another Super Nintendo game that I really love. And it's just subtle enough and comes by quickly and disappears quickly enough that
no one's coming after you.
No one's coming after me. I did that on a spot on Nihilreich as well that I probably never mentioned to anyone, but there's another, I can't remember where it is actually, which song, but it's like I stole that from Silent Hill. Anyway, so there's a very small snippet of Super Nintendo heritage in there, but yeah, that's where some of my love of brutalism came from, and I gave him that idea when I pitched in that city, and the whole chained city up in the sky, it doesn't make any real sense there. Like the chains are going down as if they're holding it from floating away or whatever. But as we soon discover, they were holding it up somehow. It doesn't really need to make sense. Oh, actually, they could be in a big parabola. They could be hung up to somewhere else. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Maybe, yeah.
The vision of something chained up into the sky, I think I probably stole from somewhere else as well. Might have been Sonic the Hedgehog even. I'm sure that he was epic and cool back in the day. And
so that was your direction, the chains?
Yes. Yeah. And they become important symbolically because in a few seconds they get released, right? We've got a king. He kind of represents what you might call argument from authority, the experts. You know, the fact that someone who is of a very high intellect can say things that aren't necessarily correct. So that ties into my idea of people manipulating people.
But people have to abide.
Yeah. Or, it might even be, for the most of the time, smart to listen to the experts, but they can still... Just because they are an expert doesn't mean that they are correct whenever they say anything. What you might, I think the most poignant example that you might actually see this is when someone who is an expert in something says something that's correct and everyone goes, oh yes, that's very correct, very well. And then they elevate him to public intellectual and then he starts talking about stuff outside of the realm of his expertise, high on the idea that he's a smart guy. But when he steps out of the realm of his expertise, he can say stuff that isn't quite right and shows a misunderstanding of it. I've had that experience with public intellectuals, right? So anyway, the king represents that kind of thing going on. And then we've got this next image was something that I don't know where I got it, but I liked the idea that we wanted to personify just stuff. Actually, I think if you just personify stuff, it makes it more mystical and esoteric, right?
Yeah.
You know, like people used to look up at the sky and think they were gods or whatever. And so I fling up 12 stars on there, representing something like the 12 months or the 12 days, hours in a day. It represents time. Okay, and then you start to see them disappear, right? It's symbolic of time running out, right? It's like the world might be coming to an end. You know, we might have, you know, climate change destroying the world, whatever. And then we've got the opportunity to do something about it. And then the video becomes, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do? So I wanted to just personify these stars, but it was Interceptor Beyond's idea to make one of them Diogenes. So Diogenes is a character from Greek myth. No, not Greek myth. History. He's a real dude, right? He was a philosopher. And he's renowned as being part of the cynicism school of philosophy, and it's interesting to read about this guy. He's one of the most crazy philosophers. So one, he lived in the street in an empty bathtub. Alexander the Great went to visit with him to learn philosophy, and I think Diogenes was just not nice to the guy. I think he was caught doing things like urinating on people in public, and I think one of his expressions is the only place to spit in a rich man's house is in the man's face, or something like this. And he did not want anything to do with riches. And the lantern thing is that he would walk around, just being a smartass, I think. He would walk around with his lantern being like, you know, and people would be like, it's the middle of the day, what are you walking around with a lantern for? And he's like, I'm looking for a wise man. Not here. So yeah, he was a bit of a jerk, I guess, but a good foil for the hoity-toity nature of Greek society at the time, whatever. Anyway, I didn't give him the direction to make Diogenes one of the guys who was holding a lantern in the sky that represents time and whatever, but he did, and I was just like, yes, good, great, good. That is what we want. And then he animates them just disappearing. This is just the march of time, world's ending. So the next thing to do, you know that time's running out. So it's time to do something, time to make change. The idea is that he wants to, he oh, perfect.
It's not almost like it's the wrong way around.
He gives the signal to cut the chain, and the chains are what's holding the city in the sky. To the people, it's like these chains must be imprisoning us in the sky.
That's holding us back, yeah.
So, of course, they all say, yes, let's do it. It was his idea to make the things holding the chains fists. I don't know, you might have to ask him about that. But anyway, immediately the city starts to crumble, fall, destroy. But not originally in his sort of script there was, I think his idea was that the king would just fall with the city. But I was like, no. It's important that the king doesn't fall with the city, because it shows that he knows that he's in no danger from cutting the chains, right?
Yeah.
It's all just going to be...
It's everyone else.
Yeah. He's happy to risk... to take the risk of everyone else's lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I wanted him just to fly down after the city just willingly, but Interceptor Beyond said, no, I think it will work better if he gets dragged down, you know? And that's Garrett Peters' guitar solo there. You'll notice that it's switched from nice warm colors in the sky to nice blue ones down here. So what I wanted, the way I described it to him, I didn't really describe the way any of this would look, because I wanted it to just be a psychedelic nonsense, right? All I needed was for it to be an abyss of some kind.
Yeah.
Some other plane of existence that doesn't quite make sense or whatever. And so he's moved from warm colors to cool ones. But all the visuals here are basically his idea. And I think it looks great. All right. Okay, so then we've got this image of all the people he's tossed into the abyss, congealing into a giant ball. Now,
as they do.
As they do. Well, this is another video game reference, actually, sort of. This is where it gets convoluted here. There's a video game called Castlevania, and one of the boss monsters in Castlevania, I think the first one it appeared in was Symphony of the Night. Now, this boss monster appeared in subsequent games as well, and they called him Legion, and it's basically a huge mass of these naked bodies, whatever. Very, very reminiscent of what we're seeing there.
Yeah.
But in the original game, only in the Japanese translation of it, it came up at the bottom when you defeated him as the name of the boss, Grand Falloon. And I was like, what the heck is a Grand Falloon? And it turns out that a Grand Falloon is a made-up word that is also known as a false cuirass. So, so that the Castlevania is what led me to read Cat's Cradle, which is where Kurt Vonnegut's idea of the false cuirass came from. Yeah. So, okay, we're starting to get layers here. So yes, the Grand Falloon, Legion. Legion is a name, is like a biblical idea as well, because it's like at some point a demon is like, what's your name? And it's like, no, we're many, we're Legion or whatever. I think a lot of metal bands have cottoned onto that idea as well. And
yeah, Legion, that's a movie too, I think.
Yeah, I think Legion became almost like the name of one of the mystical demons that gets into pop culture depictions of hell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. This original version of it was the Grand Falloon, the false cuirass, the group of people with a meaningless connection, whatever. Anyway, so I wanted to put it in here, but I wanted it to be what you're seeing is when they're forming this Grand Falloon and then they turn into a giant human person.
Yeah.
It's like what you call apotheosis. It's becoming the god. They're all congealing into a god, which is also reminiscent of, and Lone Dog 92 got this right, Neon Genesis Evangelion. So in this is a Japanese animated TV series that I watched as a kid, but I think I watched it and went, wow, I'm smart, I get this, but I did not get it. No, I had no idea. But I have gone back as an adult and watched it, and I got a lot more of it, let's just say that, but I can't be confident that I really understood. I think, maybe 2/3 of the way through the series, I lost my way, and I was like, wow, I really was picking up on all these philosophical references this time, but by this time I was like, no, okay, well, I'm lost again. But either way, highly influential, very weird, and at some point spawned a couple of movies, and at some point in the movie, the human race congeals into some apotheosis of itself, and this is beyond the point where I really understood it anyway. I should probably go and watch some series on it at somebody. Nobody gets it. Yeah, of course, philosophers who like to read too much into things that don't necessarily have the meaning that they ascribe to it, but I would still love to hear those guys talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion. I want the crazed version of how it works. I don't want to know really what happens, but anyway, no one gets it. Maybe that's right. Maybe it's meant to be incomprehensible, but here we go. And also in that series, in that show, they have an artifact called the Lance of Longinus that they use to kill an angel. Look, I don't really want to go into it. I don't understand it. No one understands it, and it would be too much to even try and explain it. But I took some of the imagery, I guess, or not even the imagery, because it doesn't look much like any of this, but the idea, and I introduced it into the song there. So so we got the Lance of Longinus, we got the Grand Falloon, which is the false cuirass. That's what the album's named after. It's got this imagery from Castlevania, which inspired me to read that book, and it's tied in with Neon Genesis and this is just like the visual representation Oh, that's right. So we've got this skull. He sits in a skull. The skull was meant to represent like that maybe human beings had killed the old gods, and this is the remnant of the last deity that they had killed. And now the king sits in it and he uses it for his power. Yeah, he's comes and sits with the skull in the head spot of this new god made of human,
big fleshy Voltron.
Yeah,
yeah,
yes, the fleshy Voltron. Okay, don't Google that now. So he gets back into his skull throne and he goes and sits in the head, and then he controls. He's guiding mankind. He's the experts, and he's the rhetorical genius that can tell people how to think and convince people, and he's guiding them forwards. And what does he do? He guides them forwards to pick up the Lance of Longinus, the only weapon capable of killing a god, which he's on the verge of becoming. And his instinct, the first choice, the first thing he does is stabs it into himself. Great work.
Surprise.
Yeah, it doesn't work out the way he wanted it to. And then the outro / the second half of the song starts, right? I learned, like, Interceptor Beyond has a couple of blog posts where he goes over his process for the previous videos that he's done, and I had a look through them. And one of the things that he mentions in each time that he does it is that he's got some kind of imagery to do with eyes, human eyes. It's close-ups on the eyes, or characters have enlarged eyes, or eyes floating through space. I don't know, whatever. This next part of the video, starting with the guy's eyes exploding, is his section, his
That's
creativity.
His, signature.
Yeah. I think he took inspiration from the lyrics that I did not guide him to do. And the lyric about, God just looks just like you.
Yeah.
That was my idea with the lyric is that, we're just replacing God with ourselves. He looks like us because he is us. We're looking in the mirror. But he took it in a more literal direction and had a guy that you, spoiler alert, see him murder, but this whole section with the eyeballs and taking the guy's eyeballs out and putting them in his own head, that's all him. Okay, that's his inspiration from the lyrics, right? And I mean, even though it's not my idea, it's very metal looking, right? His eyes explode, he kills the guy and still steals his eyeballs.
Very Metalocalypse.
It's very Metalocalypse, yeah. And I do really like the colors all through here. I think the changing color, represents the changing state of the guy's mind, and he's gone to a different place now. He's become a different person, and then he sees that it is him. And that actually works out pretty well for the metaphor that I'm going for, because, by sabotaging people who are trying to do the right thing for humankind, and you're a human, you're sabotaging your own future, right?
Yeah. So
it's stealing from yourself or your future or whatever. So yeah, I think it worked out pretty well. Hey, is this the part where they say it's our best, it's our best? Yes, it is.
This part right now. This part where the endless falling reminds me of the time I saw Queens of the Stone Age in Newcastle, and they had a song. I can't remember what the song was, but there was a video playing on the screen in the background, and the character in the video is just falling through the sky for the entire song. And it's so crushing, like a sense of that same sense of desperation that this part of the song has.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Remember when bands used to come to Newcastle?
Oh man, that was a big show, hey? Queens of the Stone Age and 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, wow.
Absolutely incredible show.
In Newcastle.
At the entertainment centre, it was a big deal.
Yeah. Saw Creed at the entertainment centre.
Of course you did.
Yeah. I mean, Seven Dust were also playing, and they're pretty cool, right? But, oh no, that's right, they cancelled. So Seven Dust were going to play, and they couldn't for whatever reason, and then a band called Crash Palace played, and I don't remember much about them except that the guitarist got really excited and ran across the stage, and his lead snagged on something and ripped it out of his guitar, and then he was fumbling on the ground trying to pick it up.
Perfect.
So what we had the city above in nice warm colors. Then we drop it into the abyss, cool colors, weird stuff. Then he goes purple, whatever. But then we drop back out of the abyss, kind of like back into reality. It's like humanity had a chance to come through this chaos of change and transformation to come out better, to churn into something else, to become, to apotheose, whatever. And instead, he uses the lance on himself. It's just a self-destructive human tendency. And then we drop out of the bottom of the abyss back into reality. Colors are warm again, and we're back with the city's ruins. And then he looks around and he's just destroyed everything. I guess it's representative of the idea that the human race is at a point where we can do things that will change our future, and we have somewhat of a choice in what the outcome will be as we go forward, and it's important to try and get this right. So the video clip's, I guess, what you might call a cautionary tale. It's a look at the wrong way to do it. It's a look at what will happen if we do things wrong, but to show that we also have a choice, that we might be able to make things better if we want. Yeah, let's just fade out. I mean, at least he realizes. And there's no way back. His skull is broken. That's it.
He ruined everything.
End of the So I think I've taken you through all of what we got going on here. So,
man, the guy that you have got for this absolutely nailed it. I didn't know all of that detail before about the direction and how closely linked it was to the song itself. I mean, I've seen the video and I've heard the song and I know the lyrics. So it loosely made sense, except for the very specific detail that you gave it and, the background and stuff like that. So it's unbelievable the amount of detail that guy was able to capture and put in the video with, your direction, and then even his own, artistic license that he's taken and run with. Smashed it. Absolutely smashed it out of the park.
I mean, absolutely. I think he did a great job.
Yeah.
And I think, even without understanding any part of what I just said or whatever, it's still visually striking and interesting. And, the people who have mentioned it in their, reviews or whatever have just said, it's a trip, or it's, this crazy thing. And I think that's almost what I wanted, is like, a bunch of imagery that has enough depth and meaning there that it kind of feels like it's meaningful, even though you may not understand what's going on. And I think that sometimes having it explained to you ruins it. Sometimes, it's better to have it as a mystery.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of the same as the explanations you've had of some of the music that you've in these other episodes, where the lyrics aren't important.
Yeah.
Okay. The video is visually striking. The music you can bang your head to. It's heavy, it's angry, whatever. But there's stuff there for people who look deeper into it.
Yeah.
And there's something for everyone to find, regardless of the depth that you dig.
Yes. Yeah.
The video does the same thing.
Yeah. So as long as it's got that depth there, then the people who do care. But when it comes to peeking behind the curtain, as it were, on almost anything, sometimes I think it's rare that it ruins the magic when you understand how the trick is done. You just understand it in a different way, right? You go, oh, that's still very clever or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of looking at it.
Sure.
And I think if you've heard my explanation, then you understand it on one level. But if you don't, then you can still appreciate some part of it. It's just a different part, or you appreciate it in a different way.
Yeah, it's not like a movie spoiler at all, where it's
no,
you can't unlearn what you've just heard.
No,
and it's not good anymore.
I was really happy with the video and the way it came out. Again, there was stuff that I would have done differently if I was doing it, but I just told him, I think I gave him all the vision I had for it, but I said, take what you want. Leave behind what you want. I trust that you've got a better idea for your artistic content than I do. I think I mentioned, like, once he gets out the bottom of the abyss, he should see like the ruins of the city falling through the sky or whatever. And he's like, no, it's already happened. It's done. We've got it needs more finality than that. And
wow.
There was some other things, like where he finds the lance is stabbed in a big corpse, right?
Yep.
So I wanted there to be dead gods in the abyss, like as if the humans had tossed them out of the city and down into there and usurped them in the heavens or whatever. But I think I always imagined them as like the canonical Greek gods, right? So you'd have Zeus down there and whatever. But he made it more, I guess, probably more visually striking. It wasn't just a bunch of statues or whatever. Sure, it was just this like more psychedelic and trippy and colourful and weird space that doesn't make a lot of sense. But in my mind, like there wasn't going to be land in there. It was going to be like a swirling maelstrom of clouds or something. But I gave all that to him, and I said, you do what you want. You're the video guy. I really don't fully understand how he kind of puts the video together in a way that gets every beat along the right place at the right time. Like, the part where he stabs himself, the thing, matching up with the lyrics there, it all really works really well. And how he plans it out, I have no idea. Before I went to him, right, I wanted to have a very good idea in my mind of the idea that I want to give him in case...
So it's something to work with.
And in case he's the kind of guy that's like, yes, I need direction. I can do anything you want, but I need you to tell me what it is. I needed to have all those ideas in place that I had.
Be prepared with that,
Exactly. So I did some thinking about the story beats of the music video if I were to make it myself or whatever. I don't have the talent to be able to do it. I can't animate and I can't render and I can't create the art or whatever. But I had to think about it in that fashion, and it was too much for me. I don't think I could really do it. So I almost I gave him all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if this is half an hour's worth of material or 2 minutes worth of material.
It's not enough or way too much.
I'll just give it to him, and he put it in place, and he made it fit the thing.
Nice.
So he took some stuff out, I guess, that I had, but he put in other stuff that he wanted, and it came out the way it did. So it's one of those. It's like a mystery to me. It's like magic. It's like it's something I just don't understand, and I'm okay with the anarchy of going, okay, you do it. You do it. I'm very happy with the result.
You should be.
I think sometimes artists do their best work when they're pushed out of their comfort zone a bit, and also when they're given the rein to be able to infuse it with their own personality and so on. So that's what I want to see, and that's what I got. If I were to analyze it in terms of the broader concept of music videos that we've been talking about, I don't really know. I think it's obviously the one where it's a narrative video that interacts with the lyrics on some level. Rather than humor or rather than band performance or whatever. But more outside of that, I'm not really sure. I think it just ticks the boxes of relates to the music and is visually interesting, and hopefully that's what you need in a music video. Yeah,
nailed it.
With the music videos, there's probably a number of ways you can do it, right? But he obviously has a method and a way of doing things and a feel for how it should be based on the music. I think he had done like some hard rock stuff before, but never extreme metal that I'd seen. And I think since then he has worked with other extreme metal bands. Okay. So it might have broadened his clientele or something like that, because he knew he could do it.
I wonder how that came about, whether or not other metal bands saw your video and went after him.
I know that he approached me because before it was published, he's like, I'd like to show this. There's a label that wants to see my work. Okay. And they were a big-ish label, like metal label. It might have been like Century Media or someone like that. So I said, yeah, show him, go for it. Because I think he was...
Maybe Century Media will pick you up.
Well, I don't. I think that would require us to be very popular rather than the merits of how good our video is, but either way.
It can just be a video. You're already very good. You just needed something to tip you over the edge.
Yeah.
And then people will be singing like, "It's our death" in like ANZ Stadium or something. You'll be doing it at download.
Yeah.
One day, mate.
Music videos, highly varied.
Good fun.
And it's always nice to see a medium from outside of music interacting with the musical medium to because it just creates more opportunities for strange combinations and how do you say this, symbiosis or something.
Yeah.
Like, when it becomes more than the sum of its parts.
The next episode, we're going to talk about dance and how that ties in with the music as well. That's another representation, another art form.
Yep. And then the next episode, we're going to talk about pairing food with your music.
Yeah. What food do you reckon goes with that
I
song?
don't know. It's extreme metal. What are you going to do?
No, specifically that song.
That song.
Yeah.
Good grief. No idea. I reckon I could make some cocktails that are nice, colourful. It'll be like a tequila sunrise for that first section,
You could have like a long toothpick in it too.
Just the toothpick of Longinus.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you everyone for dropping by. I hope you enjoyed our little exploration of music videos. That might have been a long episode. I don't know. I can never really tell. It was probably
Pretty long.
But we had a bit to get through. Oh, we got the sax.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Jason.
Can everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't
You have to stick that in the YouTube as well.
It wasn't just for your benefit.
Well, it was.
Yes, it was. But yes, again, thank you everyone for showing up. I hope you have a good rest of your week. And we'll be back. We'll be back on Friday to do more Creed covers, I think. And we'll be back on Saturday to play video games. And Tuesday will be the last track by track for our little series. I'm not going to get another album out before then, so it'll definitely be the end of the track by track following. But don't worry,
we have to figure something else out.
We got other things that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Until then, though, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you guys.